Good morning and happy Monday. I hope you are well. This week I am going to be doing therapy on the couch for someone who has written into my slot on Alive and Kicking on Newtalk. And it's all to do around something that I see every year, and I'm sure many of you will relate to, and that is really stress around Christmas, and in particularly families and the tension and dramas that can arise in families at Christmas. So I'm going to go through that with you now in a moment. It'll match my nails, my Christmas nails. It's the important things, isn't it, in life? But I do really want to help you to get a calm and positive mindset around Christmas, because it's almost like mouse traps. There's triggers everywhere, and we really have to watch it. Now, personally, myself, Kieran and Luca are going off to Crete this year, which is something really different. We'll be there on an exciting voyage, and I will be sure to share with you from there as well, and bring you on the journey with me as much as I possibly can. It'll be really lovely. So basically, I'm going to read this question now, and I'll go through it, and let's just see what resonates with you. And you might find things yourself that can be beneficial to you and how you navigate Christmas. So this came in from a listener, and she said, I know we are supposed to love Christmas, but every year from October on, I start to dread it. I don't see my family very often as I live in a different city. When I do see them, I usually try to keep the visit to one night. But for Christmas, I always go for a week. There is always an expectation on me to come for that long, to bring expensive gifts, to cook and clean, and to look after everyone. I really hate it, and yet I find myself spending and doing more each year. Christmas was always a tense time when I was a child. The stress always took away from the joy. Things are better in the house now, but I still feel uncomfortable, especially when there is too much alcohol on the table. All I want to do is run away and close the door. When I go quiet, my mum will start to nag me, and I act like a teenager. I am in my early 30s, and most of the time feel really happy with my life, my boyfriend, my job, and my friends. I hate feeling this way about Christmas. It seems so petty in a world with genuine problems. My younger siblings all seem to be really looking forward to it each year, and this just makes me feel worse. Help. Sorry for the rant, but I just don't know what to do. So there are a few things here really that come to mind, and the first thing I would say to this lovely person is that you are not alone. I've seen it so many times in clients, and in particular I suppose that age group in your early mid-30s, and you're going through many transitions yourself. You're really becoming and forming your own life, and going back into the family home is definitely it's like no matter what you are outside of the home, you can revert back very quickly into this younger version of yourself. Like you said, you act like a teenager, and that's quite unnerving when it seems unfamiliar to you in the rest of your waking world, if you like, in the rest of your life. So it sounds to me like that the reason Christmas for many people, and especially in this case, is so stressful is that, this person, you don't see your family that often, right? And when you do, you keep it short and you keep it sweet. And there's, I'm sure, a multitude of reasons for that. Like you said, that, there was tension in the family. There could be some alcohol issues there that, you kind of touched on. And therefore, it's really understandable that the part of your brain, and our brains are very tricky, that detects a threat will want to just run away and stay away from that. And yet when Christmas comes, it's like a magnifying glass. You can't run there's all these expectations on you, and that makes it really, really difficult because you're now like, back to the trap analogy, but it feels like you're in a trap. So what we have to do, what you have to do, and I'm here to help you, is to start to liberate yourself from this. And there are practical steps that you can absolutely take here that will start to shift things forward. The other thing about this idea of expectations, it's really hard to feel like there are these expectations on you. But what's going on is that you're kind of unintentionally, and again, this is not your fault, it's to do with how the brain works, is that you are playing into them in terms of, as you said, you kind of end up spending more, doing more, and it's like, when is it going to be enough? And this is something that is universal. It's something we all feel, no matter our age, and that is that we are seeking our parents' approval. And this is something that we really need to move away from, because it's really just keeps us stuck. So a lot of our journey in self-development, in therapy, in awareness, is that realization that, you don't need your parents' approval. You don't need them to validate or justify anything anymore. Of course, it's not about going into conflict or anything like that. It's simply just a case of standing like your own approval is what matters, that you approve of yourself and that you're at peace with yourself. And that then leads to much more positive relationships with your family. It takes the pressure off, because there isn't that feeling of resentment. If you are giving and you're not giving from a place that's full, it can create a sort of tension in the air. And so many of these things are actually not spoken about. It's the subliminal, it's that feeling. And family members, like we all, generally know each other so much, and it's not what you say quite often, it's what you don't say that can cause issues and tensions. So what I would say on a practical level, there's 4 things I'm going to suggest that I think that you can do. The first thing is basically, don't buy into it, literally, right? In terms of start to cut back a little bit in terms of the expense that you're spending, both time and money. So what I would say is that you do buy gifts, of course, but maybe just, don't go over and above, like, just spend within your means and keep it reasonable. The second thing I would say is to go for a shorter period of time. It's a big jump to go from one night to a full week. You need to prioritize time for yourself. You're working hard. This is your holiday. So, maybe suggest that you go away with your boyfriend and with friends, or with friends, whatever works. But just lay down some boundaries for yourself and maybe keep it to a maximum of 3 nights. That's going to make a huge difference on a really practical level. I would say that when you do feel overwhelmed, and this is something I've been working on with my self-compassion training group, is that you take a self-compassionate break, okay? And this is a mindfulness tool where you take yourself out of the trigger zone when you feel yourself becoming overwhelmed, and you just simply acknowledge that you are feeling that this is difficult. So you can take your hand to your heart and you can simply just say, this is stressful, this is a hard time, to acknowledge it and to step away from it rather than getting into a reactive state. And that's where quite often people go into that kind of teenagey mode when they're reactive. So pulling yourself out, and that is the tool, of course, of mindfulness, which is so essential for all of this work. I would also say that you spend some time, like there's obviously issues there, and really it's about not letting them build, if you like, right up until Christmas comes around. So it's like the rest of the year there's a sense of being able to kind of push down, avoid, not get sucked into it. So what we want is that those issues are starting to be dealt with during the year rather than kind of caught all right at the end. So I would recommend that you spend some time working through what those are yourself, whether it's going to a therapist, whether it's doing, work like this, meditations, etc., and really start to understand what it is in particular that causes you challenges. And then start, like a really useful thing is start to really search for the positives within your family. And I'm sure there's loads. I would say it sounds like, you suggested there that you were the eldest of the siblings. So, when you compare how you feel to your younger siblings, that's really understandable because your experience is completely different. Maybe when you were growing up in the house, things were more stressful, and by the time your younger siblings came along, things had settled a bit. And that's quite often the case in families. So just keep that in mind and be really compassionate to yourself. There is a lot that you can do, but it's not overnight. It's a gentle, slow process. And believe it or not, when we're looking at changing dynamics in our relationships, it always comes back to the relationship with ourselves, and that those shifts happen within, and then they are shared without. So there we go. Hopefully, that there are things in there that you yourself can sort of take from it and apply to your own family in whatever way you're getting overwhelmed. The self-compassionate break is a really good tool. So I'm sending you so much love, and we will talk again next week. Have a brilliant week, and lots of love from me and Rosie, who's super, super chilled. Bye.